I get a lot of questions from you guys about the Insta360 camera. How easy is it to set up on the bike? What do you use to set it up on the bike? How easy is it to film and edit and all that kind of stuff? So what I'm going to do is run you through everything today, and hopefully you'll be able to see how easy it is. So here is everything that I use to put my Insta360 on my bike and record my videos. Starting from the top, we've got these two bits which come from the motorcycle mount bundle. We've got the invisible selfie stick. We've got obviously the Insta360 itself, the X3 that is, just in case you can't read. I've got my memory card here, which is actually a 512GB, which allows me to record I think up to about 8 hours of footage on this, which is absolutely brilliant. But I think the smallest I would recommend is sort of a 128GB, because then you get at least 2 hours recording, which allows you to go through 2 batteries if you have a spare. I have 3 batteries here. Obviously that lets me record for 3 hours, unless I charge them in my bag with a power bank or something like that. Then I can get more out of it and obviously fill my memory card in a day if needs be. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll show you how to set all this up on the bike. We'll just quickly pop the memory card in here. That just goes in there like that. Pop us a battery in there. Boom. There you go. That's now ready to go. So what we'll do now is I'll show you this being set up on the bike. So first up to go on is the ball mount clamp. I'll just pop that on my mirror here and just tighten it down. I will say, make sure this is very, very tight, possibly as tight as you can make it, because the last thing you want is an Insta coming off like what happened to us before. Next up is the other part from the motorcycle mount bundle, this clamp here, which goes just on the ball there, and I'll just tighten that up a little bit for now, just so we can still move it around, so I can show you how I set it up and how I get it right. Next up we have the invisible selfie stick, but obviously when you put it on the bike, have it as short as possible, because the longer it is, the more chance there is that it snaps off from the threads in here, as you've probably seen happen. But we just screw that onto the ball mount here. Again, make sure it's nice and tight, but don't over tighten that, because that will strip off. And now it's in this position, you get the camera and put that on there. So now the camera, once again, just screws onto the selfie stick at the top here. And I'll say it again, just in case you didn't hear me any of the other times, do it up tight, but definitely do not over tighten that, because the threads will strip out. So now you've got everything on the bike. Before we tighten it down, we just have to put it in whatever position you want it on. It depends what kind of view you want. If you want a view where it's like right in front of your face, you'd kind of put it over here, sort of directly in front of you, and that will just film your face and kind of a bit at the front of the bike. The more of the front of the bike you want, obviously the further out you've got to have it. But I wouldn't ever recommend having it out like that as a jousting stick, because that can get you in a bit of trouble with old Bill if they do see it like that, because obviously that is a hazard to anyone you crash into. So personally, I have mine out. I'll try and make it level with my mirror, so that when I'm filtering or going through a tight gap, it's not sticking out any further than my bike normally. But as it's by the mirror, you can actually see down the back, so you can see things coming up the side of me and things like that on videos. And then once it's in a position where, back there, once it's in a position that I like, I tighten it down really well, make sure it's not going anywhere. Take the lens protector off and you're ready to go. So now you've got your camera all set up and you're ready to go. Got your bike started, which, woo, sounds lovely. Anyway, now you're ready to go. You just put your camera on. All you got to do is turn this on with that button just there. Hopefully you can see that. That was that one, power button. Wait for that to start itself up and turn on, loading, there you go. And as long as you're in video mode, the standard settings are fine for everyday use. Press this little circle down here, and boom, there you go, you're recording, you're away. Now what you got to do is go for a ride. That's the fun part. Right, now you're back from your ride. Put your bike in neutral. Now you're back from your ride, you're ready to go. You've got all your footage you need, so you press this button here to stop the recording when you're done. And once that's saved, push this button again, and you can turn that off, and then you're done. Also turn your bike off, save fuel. And literally what I do is I will unscrew this, because all of that is already set up on the bike. I'll leave that set up for next time. That's it, done. Now with this, I'll just take this in the house, take my memory card, put it on the PC. I'll show you all that in a second. So now I'm home from my ride. I've taken all the files off the Insta360 X3, pop them on my PC. The way I do that is through a memory card reader. I take the memory card out of here, pop it in the reader, and just transfer all the files onto the PC. That way it helps the software run faster. Now, as you can see in the background here, the software is already up and running. All I'm going to do now is just drag and drop my files in that I want to use. So now we've got some footage loaded up onto the software. All you've got to do now is decide where you want this to start and end. That's the first point. So for instance, if you're doing like a TikTok clip or a YouTube short or something like that, you'd want it to be like 30 seconds to a minute long. So whichever bit of action you want to take out, you go and find that. The best way to do that, down here, this little search bar, you just drag this along and you can pick whatever point you want along the ride. Not much happened on this one, to be honest with you, so there's not going to be any exciting stuff to pull out. But what I'm going to do is just pick a point, like here, for example, this junction. That's going to be my start of the video. Now, to start the video, you've got these two bits here, right? This one is to trim the front, so the start of the video, and this one's to trim the end, which is obviously the end of the video. So here, I'm going to click this one, and that's going to mark the start of my video. Now, as far as the software goes, it does not know where to point this now. It could go anywhere. So you have to tell it where to point and when. So at the very start of your video, you need to choose a start point. Now, down here on this little plus here, these are keyframes that we have to add in. So the first keyframe I'm going to add in now. And then while we're on this, and you can see all these numbers here, you just drag it around to the start point that you want. So my videos normally start on me, kind of zoomed in, something like this. That's the start point. Then you need to pick where you want it to go from there. So normally I like to have it zoomed in on me, and then it will zoom out slowly to show like the whole of me and my bike. And that normally takes a couple of seconds. So what I would then do is I would play it for a couple of seconds and then pause it and be like, that's where I want the next keyframe. So then we add another keyframe in there. And if I just use this over here just to zoom in so you can see them better. So the first keyframe is here, and then the second keyframe is this one. And at the minute they're both set exactly the same, so the camera's not going to move. But the second keyframe, like I said, I want that zoomed out so you can see my whole bike. Now it's set, what we'll do is we'll go back, we'll watch that again, and you'll see that that will move between the two keyframes. So it's gone from being zoomed in to zoomed out. And depending on how far apart these keyframes are is how long it takes for that action to happen. So if I was, for instance, to move these really close together, so that happens over like half a second, it will zoom out really quickly like that. And if I was to move it all the way down here, so that's sort of like, you know, maybe about 10 seconds of footage, that would zoom out very slowly over the course of 10 seconds, or probably more like 5 seconds. My estimation was a little off, but hopefully you get the point. So for this clip, for example, I will edit this as I would a normal video. So it would start off on me, it will zoom out, and then because I want to keep it on this point, I just play the video until I want to change that. It'll always stay on the last keyframe until you make a change. So basically, yeah, I'm going to keep it on me for, I don't know, a few seconds up till about this point. And then I'll add another keyframe there so that that stays the same from this point all the way over to this point, and it's not going to change. But now, from this point, I would like it to pan round the front here and see Titch up there in the distance. So to do that, what I'm going to need to do is play the video a little bit and pause it again. You might notice actually that I'm not using the play and pause button, I'm actually using the space bar for play and pause because it's one of the hotkeys that helps you just be a lot quicker with your editing once you get used to it. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So you play and pause to this point, and then you add in another keyframe. And then if we go back to this keyframe, you can see where that was. And then we'll play it, and it will go around to that one, because I've added that one in, obviously facing in on Titch. And then the next point I want it to do would be to zoom in on her. So once again, we play it and pause it, and then add another keyframe in. And then with this, we just use the scroll wheel of the mouse to zoom in on her. Now, if we go back and watch them back, it will pan round to Titch, and then it will zoom in on her. You can do those two actions at once if you want. You can zoom out and pan, but I'm just showing you step by step. Hopefully, it's a little bit simpler that way. And then if I want it to stay on Titch, hopefully you'll know this by now, you just play it, and then wait until you want to change something, pause it, add another keyframe, so it stays the same point from there to there. Hopefully you're keeping up. It should be simple enough for you. So yeah, now the next point is I'm going to pan back round to me and then end the video. It's not going to be very exciting, but it will show you sort of the gist of how to edit. So you play it, and then you pause it, and then at this point I'll spin it back to me and zoom out at the same time. So it will seamlessly go from Titch being zoomed in to zoomed out on me, like that. And then I'm going to end the video about there. So click this one here for end of video. That's it, done. That is your clip. And then all you've got to do is click the export button, and then over here you'll see the progress. It will start exporting your video. Once that's done, you'll have your video ready to go. So if you have any more questions about the software, or you want me to go in depth on what the settings do and the other things that are on there, I can do that. Just let me know in the comments and I'll post another video.